Welcome to another episode of the Soothing Semantics podcast. I'm your host, Rafi Pinsky. Make sure to subscribe, smash the like button, leave your comments for all of your real estate needs in South Florida. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Rafi the Realtor. Check out my weekly newsletter in the link in bio. And without further ado, we have Mr. Owning Manhattan himself, Nile Lundgren. If you haven't watched the show, make sure to watch it. He's kicking ass and taking names. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much, Rob. Really appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So to start the episode, I want to get to know you a little bit better in terms of your backstory. I watched the video on YouTube of you going into your life, moving from Connecticut to New York. So give us a little bit of a background about that and how you ended up in New York.
Yeah. The high level summary is that I'm from Connecticut. I was born in New Haven. I went to Guilford High School. I played football there. I was fortunate because I played football that my coach was like, you got to figure something out. So he brought me to a prep school called Kent. And that's where I was playing football. And then I just did that for 1 year. And then I jumped from there to Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut. I played football there as well. So athletics and sports and, team, competitiveness, that's always been something that's been in my nature. And in 2007, my final year of playing football, I made basically a 10-part vlog of my entire season. And I would publish those on a weekly basis, like your weekly newsletter. Well, on a weekly basis. In 2007, like nobody was making content then, right? Like I was on YouTube, I was posting my videos on Facebook, I was poking the other football team's quarterbacks. And by doing that, I realized pretty quickly that this media thing, there's a lot of legs that it has. So when I moved to New York after I graduated from college, I really just wanted to do something with media. I thought I was going to come to New York and be on television. I didn't really have a plan. I didn't really understand real estate or finance or anything like that. But I just moved to New York. My friend bought a house. He was living in Bed-Stuy. I was living in his basement on an air mattress. No clue what was going on. But I was in New York, and the guy that sold him the house, my friend, was like, hey, what are you doing? Do you have good credit? I was like, I don't have good credit, but I know people that do. So he was like, hey, you should work with me. And, I fell into real estate, but I had a competitive background and a competitive spirit, and I love sales. I sold Cutco knives prior. When I was in college, I would call my mom's friends and set up knives to demonstrations to show them how their knives are no good and mine are better. So I've always had this like entrepreneurial spirit, if you will. And I got into this real estate thing with this guy. His name was Edwin. And I'll never forget, man, he would just drive around, and we would drive around in his Mercedes. And he would say, every time you pass a building where you made money, you have to laugh. So he would just drive around Bed-Stuy with me, and he would just be laughing his ass off. And I remember just like, wow, this is crazy. But I love that kind of environment, and the competitiveness and the fact that you got to make your own schedule. From there, I basically that was in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy. Then I took a job in Manhattan where I was a rental agent doing the OPs. Basically, what that means is there's a new building that goes up, and they want to incentivize agents to bring their clients. So the owner pays OP, the owner pays our commission, and we get that commission. So what we would do is we just make ads on Craigslist and get the leads and just walk them in the door, right? So that's kind of how I did it in Manhattan to start, and that's how Ryan did it, and that's how a lot of agents really have to start in the city is working an open listing like that, taking pictures of it yourself, paying for the ads, and then ushering them into the building. Then from there, I got into commercial real estate, started cold calling, really learned the nuts and bolts of the business from there. And then I was fortunate when I was 28 years old to start my own brokerage, where I grew that to 35 agents, and then joined Compass. I was there for 6.5 years and sold an $18 million property down in Miami. When I did that, it was pretty incredible because that was right when Ryan opened up Serhant. So then, he got in touch with me, and I committed to him pretty quickly just because I knew what he was doing, and I saw the media, the content, and I knew where it was going. So for me, it was a natural synergy, considering I've been doing all of the media for a very long time anyway, and it's proven to be quite a good move on my part. And I think Ryan, appreciates having me on board, and I look up to him, and I appreciate him as well. So I think it's a really good relationship that we have now.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot. It's a lot to unpack, man. It's
That was
amazing.
the quick, as fast as but that's the
It
overall
was
summary.
great. It was great, man. It was great. You gave so much information so succinctly in such a short time, and I got it all. I got it all. So what's amazing is you've been able to build so much yourself before joining Ryan, but Ryan has such a powerful presence on social media. He's very animated, he's very entertaining, he's
Right.
also super professional. So for you to have already built everything you've built as someone who worked in different sales industries, then coming to real estate, building a team of 35 people, being with Compass beforehand, and then saying, you know what, everything I've built on my own, I can still benefit massively from joining Ryan's operation.
100%. I mean, if you can't beat them, join them, right? I've always had my eyes set on being number one. And there's a couple people and brokers, Ryan being one of them, who are clearly people that you have to beat. And the machine that this guy has built is, I don't see anybody else coming close, right? Like even whole companies coming close. So for me, I was like, I could go and stay at Compass, for example, and do well. And I love that company. But there's a million agents there. I mean, not a million, maybe 30,000 across America. So yeah, I'd be one. Maybe I'd be a medium-sized fish in a really big pond. But then coming to Serhant, it's like, it's a small pond, and the pond is ran by the biggest gangster of the entire business. And I think it's like, steel sharpening steel. Like, we are just, he is, and I thought I was a great agent. I mean, even 2 months ago, I've been doing this for 16 years, and my skill level I'm literally running circles around people at this point. And because if you put yourself with the best and you force yourself to commit, like, I work my ass off. I'm not just somebody who's like on the TV show. Like, I'm the only one in the office right now. It's
Right.
like, it's August 1st. Everyone's sleeping or on vacation.
That's crazy though, man. It's 10 in the morning. Why are you the only one in the office?
I don't know. Well, I mean, look, you got to think about it. There's no real sales happening at this hour, right? In New York, it's like really dead. All the people who have money are likely going to be, traveling, whether it's Europe or the
Right.
Hamptons. So a lot of the agents, they follow the money, and they go and they try and be in those spots to make those connects. So
Right.
like
Go to
for me,
Monaco.
historically, I would be gone right now myself. I would be in Europe or something, right? But for me, I had to stay here because of the television show to do appearances like this. I was just in Las Vegas, accepting some awards and speaking on stage. So like I got to be here at this juncture. So it's just a little different. I would say I'm not knocking anybody, but I'm just saying that, there's a different level of, if you work with somebody like Ryan and you like kind of come into the office, maybe you'll get a little bit better. But I'm working with Ryan, and I am showing up above and beyond, and I'm like matching as much as I can of his level of energy and effort. And I cannot say enough about Ryan, how impressed I am, with how he works, how succinctly he works. He's efficient, he's effective. I mean, it's a total savage, total savage. So I'm
Yeah.
extremely blessed and fortunate, and because of that, I know I'm going to be a pretty dangerous threat moving forward.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Absolutely. I can see it. I saw how you were with isn't her name Tori? You had that list.
Chloe?
Chloe. Yeah, that's what I meant. I was trying to remember
Yeah,
her name. Yeah.
it might as well be Tori. Hey, Tori, how you doing? I mean, Chloe, who cares?
She's gonna listen to us and be like, "Who's that asshole that got my name wrong?" Good. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
okay.
By the way,
That's
I'm
not
from
the worst
Brooklyn
thing that's been
myself.
said about her.
I grew up in Brooklyn, man, so I'm a New
Oh,
Yorker
all
too.
right, you know the deal.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to mention, because you mentioned Ryan, there is a powerhouse. Her name is Dina Goldentear. I don't know if you've heard of her.
Yeah, I know.
She had a $150 million listing, co-listing with Ryan. She knows him well. I mean,
Ocean, yeah, it's in
she is
Golden Beach.
Not she's done Golden Beach plenty of time. Yeah, that was in Golden Beach, right?
Right.
She does.
The
I mean,
Hertzbergs have that one now. It's at like 88 million.
oh, they dropped it massively. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I was close to getting a $40 million deal that the Hertzbergs had. Um, but yeah, very tough situation. It's really just an unrealistic seller. She's an old lady, very, not easy to. Anyhow, that's a story for another time. But
Of
Dina
course.
actually just what were you saying?
I said, of course.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it. It's very funny. So Dina actually just closed the deal with my brokers. My brokers are also they're more low key, but they're absolute beasts. So I hope for some referrals at some point, my friend.
All
They're
right,
kill
bro.
they're killing it. We'll go into it.
So it's sort of like your biceps. They're killing it, bro. They're killing it.
Oh baby.
Let's go. Let's
Let's
go.
go. Yeah, man. So they had a listing for 23 million. Dina brought the buyer. They just closed. So yeah, they're doing very well too. So I joined them.
Amazing.
I joined them about a year and a half ago from Keller Williams. The company's called The Brokerage, and I mean, I'm a young buck. I'm trying to learn from them. So they're young too, though. They're in their early 30s. You know, they're
Wow.
killing it.
Good for them.
So yeah. So now I wanted to get into, we talked about your upbringing in New Haven. They have some great pizza there, no?
The best pizza, man. I love, Sally's,
Yeah,
Pepe's,
Sally Slices.
Modern.
You talking about Sally Slices?
Yeah. Oh, Sally's on Worcester Street in New Haven is the name of the pizzeria. It's like
Right.
150-year-old pizzeria. It's like super old school, like the booths with the lights with, I forget what, it's like super old school. But Sally's is probably my favorite out of all the places in New Haven.
Oh, so I think we're talking about something else. There's this guy, Salvatore. He created a massive Instagram page, TikTok. You know that dude, kind of like tall, lanky dude. I'll show it to you. He's got over 1 million followers. I think pretty sure he's in New Haven, but
Really?
the
Yeah, I
last,
mean, I'm sure. I'm sure some of the best pizza in the world's there.
yep. So okay, I'm a big pizza dude. So when I come to
Yeah,
New
yeah,
York, it
me
would
too.
be
Me too. We should go sometime.
for sure, man. Sounds good. So you mentioned your life growing up in Connecticut. You told me why you joined Serhant. That covers 2 out of the 6 topics. Now I want to go into something very important, the challenges along the journey. So obviously you weren't born where you are now. What were some of the really difficult experiences you went through, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I'd say the most difficult thing that anyone can go through is like what's going on in your brain. It's your mental. That's actually what you're really struggling with. And I put myself in a pretty challenging situation, which is a commission-based industry with no knowledge, no money in a city that kind of know. You know? And when you put yourself into situations like that, you have to believe in yourself and have certainty, right? So if you have certainty in yourself, because what's going to happen is you're going to make a decision to get into real estate. And then everybody else who you know is going to have their own limiting beliefs. And they're going to take those limiting beliefs and try and impose them on you and say, hey, well, you can't go to New York. That's crazy. That's the hardest place to go, right? But if I was not certain in myself, I would let that energy start to stray me, right? So it's like, oh, it's not the right place to go. And I'm like, no, it is the right place. You just don't think that because you don't know what I know. And I know that I'm going to make something out of myself. And yeah, it might take time. But the thing about me is that I've always had I've always been patient. So I knew it was going to take time. I could have, I have a job list of all the brokers and an Excel spreadsheet in 2014 that I wanted to work with. Ryan was on that list. He's been on my list, but it wasn't the right time. I wanted to earn it. Everyone, you see like Savannah, she like gets in with Ryan under like an apprenticeship, and then she's like, where's my money? Where's my deals? It's like,
Savannah, the blonde girl, are you talking about? Yeah.
yeah. It's like you got to earn it. Like I worked in this business for 14 years, and I've known for 10 of them that I wanted to work with Ryan in one way, shape, or another, and
Mhm.
I paid my dues. And when you pay your dues, and you have to be certain about it, right? Because all these other energies are going to come. And that's probably the hardest thing, is to become certain and say, look, I'm in this for the long term.
I love this,
I'm
dude.
here
I
for
love this,
it.
dude.
It doesn't matter what you do in year one. It doesn't even matter what you do in year two. It's like year five. Dude, for me to do, I sold, first off, it took me 14 years to sell $100 million in real estate. I joined Serhant. I sold $100 million of real estate in 1 year.
It's incredible.
Now, obviously, joining with Ryan is like pouring gasoline on the fire.
Right.
But I also set myself up, and most of my family will even say, wow, we're so proud of you, because none of us thought like you were making the right decision. Because yeah, there was a lot of years where I was eating dollar pizza. I wasn't making a lot of money, but I was really investing in the relationships because I knew I was going to be in it for a long term. So in 2017, 2018, I made conscious decisions to do less business, but focus on traveling with a whole new higher level clientele, right? The upper echelon of the upper echelon. So by doing that, I understand all of the ways of luxury. I know how to fly private. I understand how to go boating, sailing, yachting, right? I can kite surf. I can wake surf. I can do water sports. That's a way to connect. So I had to literally go and build my career and then take steps, literally steps back. During that time, I had to Airbnb my apartment when that was legal. And I was living on my friend's couch, just sleeping on his couch. I was, dude, I had to like make it happen, you know? And the thing about it is when I was doing that, everybody was like, you got to come home. This is just crazy, dude. What are you doing? And I'm like, don't worry about it. They're like, you're doing all these crazy things, but you're broke. I'm like, right. I'm investing everything I have. The reason why I've always acted broke is because I bet on myself. I'm like, what am I going to do? Go work for somebody else and bet that he does it? I was like, at one point, I racked up over $100,000 in credit card debt. And I was, going 0% credit card, balance transfer. I had like 17 things I'm shifting and shaping. But I got good at how to like maneuver finance by doing
Right.
that.
You survive.
Right.
You learn how to survive through it, and
It
it
was
almost becomes
incredible.
this.
And it's not about, and the thing about it is you have to understand it's not about, oh, I want to get into real estate and then, oh, I made it and I'm on Netflix. Dude, the Netflix thing is fleeting. I don't even, it happened. Who cares? Right? It's about the man I became on the journey, right?
Right.
The journey is what was the most exciting. When I was down on my knees at the church, begging for fucking anything, like, please, I'm fucked, like, help God, somebody. Like, I was on my knees for many times. Like, it brought New York, as much as I love it, man, it will bring you to your knees and it will test you. And that allows you to find the will and the courage inside to dig up that certainty, because I was looking through that tunnel and I was certain, but it was dark for a very long time.
Mhm.
And then as I started to turn the corner, I was like, bingo. And now it's bright. So now it's beautiful because I've done all the hard work. All I need to do now is just execute. That's really it.
And it's amazing, man. It really, you appreciate so much more what you've gotten because you really had to work for it. But what's also amazing is now that the good times are rolling in, you're not going to forget the difficult times, but they're a thing of the past, And what's even better is if you come across some kind of similar challenges, you're like, I've been there, done that. Come on, bring it on, dude.
Right, right. The been there,
Yeah,
done that is the wisdom part of it, Most people, they don't know about that, So it's the first time experiencing it and then they panic. So as you get older and as you get, more and more experience in the business, these things that will be a little bit shocking for you today will be a little bit easier to deal with, in a year or two.
they're so necessary. Everything you're saying, I relate to so much, man. I'm about 3.5 years in the business, and I'm by no means, making millions, but I have this crazy tunnel vision. I don't care what people tell me. I don't care what people think. I'm so invested. And it's such an amazing feeling, man. I know
Yeah,
exactly what I want to do. I know exactly where I want to go. The podcast, if you've seen, I've done 100 this year. You're the 180th. Hold on a second.
That's a lot. 180, geez.
1 second, hold on.
You good?
Someone was just trying to FaceTime me, but we're back. 180 episodes, Nile, and I have less than 4,000 subs. And some of my videos have gone viral. I have one video that has almost 100,000 views. I've had very big names on my show. I don't care how long it takes. I know I have a knack for this. I know podcasting is something that really showcases a lot of my natural abilities, things that I've worked on over the course of time, communication skills, comfortability talking to a camera, talking to people in general, learning about different topics. If you notice, it's not only real estate. I cover all sorts of different controversial topics.
Right.
And I'm going to do this shit until it's very, very big. I'm just about it.
The only thing is stopping you is a lack of consistency. If you just stay consistent, you do what you're doing, you will win. It's an easy formula. It doesn't matter if it takes 10 years, just keep at it. And then a year 11, that's what happened to me. I could have stopped at 10 years, could have stopped at 11, could have stopped at 14. But then at 15, I did my whole career in 1 year. You see what I'm saying?
It's insane, bro. You know Alex Hormozy? Have you heard of him? Okay. I have no doubt you'd be a fan of this guy. He built a very big gym chain, a chain of a bunch of gyms. Now he's a serial entrepreneur, brilliant guy. His wife is also a massively hard worker. They are extremely successful, but he says things that speak to me so deeply. And he put out a video. I think this video is old. I think he reposted it. I'll send it to you. And he was talking about different periods in your journey. And in the beginning, the first part of the journey, you have this kind of naive confidence where you think, oh, everything's going to be so amazing because you see someone else doing it on one of these paid programs. If you pay $15.99, you can learn this and learn how my clients made $50 million in their first month. And they're like, wow, I can quit my job and do this, And then in the beginning, they're so positive and motivated. They think it's going to be so easy. And then they go, oh, fuck this. Wait a minute. This isn't as easy as I thought. And once they get to what I think he calls the valley of despair, most people quit. They see how incredibly hard that valley of despair is. And so what they do is they quit in that moment, and then they go and find a different venture. And then they get to the valley of despair in that venture. And then they go hop and hop and hop because they can't muscle through that period. But the few people, that small percentage of people like yourself that can push through that valley, you eventually get to that point. You soar upward, and then you go, okay, this is tough, but I know the formula. I know the math. I understand it.
Right. Yeah. And that's the hardest part, is pushing through that. But the thing is even to go one step further, it's not just pushing through it. It's actually enjoying it.
Yeah, dude.
With a smile, like you could push through it. It's like, oh, pushing through it. Or you could be like, yep, this is all happening to me. This, definitely no good, but that's, life showing me who's boss. I don't have control. Let me just go and do what I got to do and handle it, even though it's going to take me an extra 6 hours or whatever it may be that the hang up is.
But what's also dope about it is you also realize the harder it is, the fewer people are going to be able and willing to do it. So the more challenging it becomes, the more you're putting yourself into an area where okay, let's see other people try this. They're not down for this,
It's a good example. My sister, her name is Svea. She's been interning with me this summer. Today's her last day. I just sent her off. I'm very sad about it. But she, what was I going to say? What did you just say? I just lost my train of thought. You said
I was just talking about how it puts you, the more challenge, the higher the challenge, the more you can overcome.
Right. So so she was working with me, and she would see how, for example, I have a rental property that's on Airbnb, and I complained about a guest, they complained about me, they suspended my account. Right. So I was like, all right, we need to handle this. And she started interning with me, and she's like, they said there's nothing, the count's down, there's nothing we could do. I'm like, what do you mean there's nothing we could do? Like, we have to attack these people. And she's like, what do you mean? Like, I want to be like respectful. I'm like, forget respectful. I need results. I was like, so we call these people once on the hour, talk to a different person, open up a new case. We're going to figure it out. And it took us, 10 days, but we ripped through everything and we got it done. And she realized, like, I was like, there's no difference between me and anybody else. The only difference is that I will not stop.
Mhm.
Other people stop. When your client's looking for 1, 2, 3, they stop at 4. They're like, it looks like we didn't see it. I will keep going, and going and making that extra call. And when they told me, oh, it's not available, then I call them back and double check and then even force a showing, even though it's not available.
Yeah.
Like that's how you end up being somebody who could separate yourself from the pack. And I think, my sister was able to see that. Like, it doesn't take much that's special. Ryan Serhant, he's a normal guy, but he just has systems in place and his follow-up is relentless. Like, you can't not, call him, so it comes down to like your level of effort, how you're giving that, and then, what you're doing behind it. And like, Ryan's a really good example of it. He's a human just like us, but he's figured out a way, to push the envelope on every single, touch point that he has, and he crushes it.
I didn't realize Ryan was such an animal, meaning I know he is. I know he's a really, really hard worker, but he has this very smiley, bubbly personality on Instagram. And then when I watched Owning Manhattan, I literally watched it back to back. I watched the entire thing on a Sunday. And I saw how he's a no bullshit guy. At the end of the day, he has a patience to him. He really has a lot of patience. But with what's that guy's name with the tattoos? Tommy?
Tommy, I think it's Tommy.
He gave he gave him a lot of wiggle room, man. He kept forgiving him, and then at some point he's like, I'm done. And I just realized that as much as Ryan is super positive and he's got a very bubbly, welcoming energy, he also is about his business. He's really, really about his business, man.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't, if you build your whole life to get to a point where you have, your name on the building, on the TV show, like all these things, like you can't be risking it, and
Yeah.
he also has no time. So if somebody's gonna, risk his reputation and or waste his time, like it's a pretty quick, especially if you're not bringing any business, like it's a pretty quick math equation for Ryan.
Yeah.
He's a very smart person and he knows, where his time should be allocated and he allocates it there.
Yeah, no, you have to know when to cut the cord on certain things. Your time is of the essence. Speaking
Right.
of which, because I remember the scene where he was with his wife and just talking about time spent. You don't have a lot of time to sit to, we don't spend enough time together, and what have you. What's your take on that? What's your take on, let's say, a wife or someone that says your work consumes you, you don't do anything else, you don't have time for your kids or family. What do you say about that? Because at the end of the day, people who want to be at the top, at the upper echelons of anything, they're going to have to put a massive amount of time into what they're doing. And there isn't going to be a balance per se. So that's my take. So what do you say about that?
Balance, maybe not. But there's ebbs and flows.
Mm.
Um, so, as much as a TV show might say one thing, he's also in Greece with his family right now, right?
Okay.
Does he travel all the time? No, but well, that's for pleasure, but he does travel for other things, right? So, you still get to experience things, right? Even though you're working. And I work, but I integrate my lifestyle into my work. So, and I integrate my family into my work. My sister's my intern, my cousin's, a video guy for me. I have a girlfriend, she's with me at events all the time. So I integrate those things. I don't necessarily have to separate all of them. I could do an event and then have everybody kind of be there, and real estate's the catalyst for it, but I also use the event as a place to host community, right? And there, that is, I think, what's really special about real estate is you have the ability to do that, and yeah, don't get me wrong, if you want to be the top, you have to make sacrifices, but I think the key and the art of it is finding a way to weave it all together. Like for me, yeah, I could have gone and done real estate, but then also done TV or reality TV. And I've done that. I've been on other reality TV shows on Bravo. I was a real estate agent in this, but the holy trinity, is like doing what you do, like what I'm doing, real estate on TV. So you're
Mhm.
killing a couple birds with one stone, and then you do it with family. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, there's security. He's got a kid. I don't have kids, right? So it's a little different, but and I can only imagine what that's like on his end. But I think if you can marry them, I think that's like the really the way to go. And I'm sure that's the biggest challenge. But for me, that's the way that I look at it. And yeah, I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, that is a good answer. That is a good answer for sure. That gives me some solid perspective. Let's see. Now, another really interesting topic is you mentioned that being on Owning Manhattan, obviously it was cool, but for you, it's not going to be the make it or break it in your business. There's still lots to do, and you're not going to bank on a show for your success ultimately. So, what was your experience like on Owning Manhattan, and how did it help you grow your business?
Yeah, well, I'm still investigating exactly how it's going to help me grow from a closing standpoint. But in the last month, I pulled in over $50 million in listings, whether that has, owning Manhattan written all over it, or it was just accumulation of me, working all these clients for a long time. And then all of a sudden the show and then timing and it happened. I can't really tell you, but from my standpoint, I had a really good time, filming Owning Manhattan. The reason being is that I was on another reality TV show prior. I was on a Bravo TV show called Camp Getaway. So by
Mm,
being on this show now, I had production experience. I've sat there. I've done hours and hours of, interviews for the other TV show. So I was fluid in that. I understood how to work with the producers, the audio people, the other cast members. And I think that put me on a different echelon with production because I just knew. I think like a producer. I'm not like, well, tell me what are we just shooting? I'm like talking to the producers and I'm like, well, this is what I see. I know we're talking about this listing and Chloe's going to be here. This is my thought about it. I'm thinking about jumping in the fucking pool. And they're like, whoa, 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 that's a good idea, but maybe, you see what I'm saying? So like I have those dialogues. And I think if you're look, this is not scripted, right? It's not like I come in with a script and I just start reading, right? This is like it's like real life. Like they put you in the situation and then it happens. So you have to like improv and react, right? So that is where I think is the most fun part because it is what you make it. Like I didn't just walk in to pitch Chloe. I walk in and pitch Chloe with a plant, because it's dramatic. It's all over the place. It's not what you normally see. And
right.
everybody, as a result of that, has a reaction, a visceral reaction. And I don't think if I had that other TV show experience, I would have recognized the importance of that being your own producer. I could have easily just lost the pitch and said, oh, fuck. Or I could say, hey, if I lose the pitch, I'm going to jump in the pool and then make it about me again, redirect the energy back at me. So, yeah, I lost. So the energy goes this way away from me. But then I'm like, but this is going to be, I have to like, eat, work on my humility here, and then jump in the pool, right? You have to like drop your ego to do that. And that's how you redeem yourself. So it's like you have to play those games on the fly in a split second while there's a camera or two or three cameras in your face, while you're talking to Chloe,
Right. Right. Totally. Yeah. I was just wondering how much of it was really scripted or not, because all the drama that the ladies had at the dinners and all those other things. Like, is it for the most part real? I mean, do you think that
They
drama
hate each other. Chloe and Jade hate each other.
in
I
real life?
can't, in real life, like they don't like we're taking pictures like in the subway as a cast and they're screaming at each other. And we're all like, hey, we're trying to take the photo here. Shh. And then someone yells at me because I shush them, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm just, please.
You it's a shame Jerry Springer's not around anymore.
I know, but I
Yeah.
think from that standpoint, it's real, it's authentic. The deals are real, the people are real. Ryan's doing everything that he's doing is obviously real. Like I'm in the office right now. Like it's a real situation, and I hope we get a season 2, and if we do, I think we'll dial the drama up even a little bit more. Obviously in a tasteful way. This is not like just a show that's a drama show and real estate's in the background. It's a real estate show, and there's real life drama and conflicts. And I think any story needs conflicts and resolutions in order to be, fruitful for an audience to watch and maintain.
That makes a lot of sense. Wow. Okay. So now what would you say are what do you say were the things that helped you get in, really hit the luxury market or even the ultra luxury market?
Understanding it first, taking a step back, and then not doing as much real estate, but investing in travel. So that, I had to suck wind financially in order to do that. But I understand it now. I understand how to talk to family offices, to family attorneys, to personal assistants, what that relationship is, how to come into one guy and then who to deal with from there. Right? There's a lot of intricacies with dealing with people like at a very high level.
Right.
Anything above 10 million, you have to really understand who you're dealing with, what their process is, how you can help with that. And then you have to know product. That comes down to you getting in your car down in Florida and looking at property. I am on a mission, and I've been on a mission to see at least one piece of property every single day. Just one. That's it. If you do that, that's 365 a year. Multiply it by 10 years, you're looking at thousands of apartments. What separates you from the rest of the agents? What separates you from Zillow? Why do I need you? Well, I'll tell you why somebody needs me, because I've seen all the apartments. So whatever you think you see on the internet, send it to me and I'll tell you the truth about it, because pictures are great. But I'll tell you, look, this is no good because this is the developer. By the way, this is a way better developer. It's a little bit higher price point, but safer bet in the long term, right? You don't know that by looking on the internet. So what I do is I have my context, my valuable knowledge, and I give context to what they're saying. So instead of it being like, oh, you're the real estate agent, Raf, send me some listings. Okay, yeah. I just talked to you for 8 minutes and now I know everything about you and I'm going to find your dream home, right? That's not what my job is. My job is to tell you where and what you're looking at is good, medium, or bad. And why don't you start by sending them to me? The beautiful thing about having the internet is that you have access to what I have access to. So why don't you just send it to me? And then because I have contacts, and because I've been to all these places, I can immediately give them back a list. Hey, this is why this works. This is why this doesn't work. Let's definitely go and see this. You nailed it. This one is a co-op, requires 30% down. After having a conversation about your financials, you're only looking to put down 20%. Can't do it, X, right? And so like, I know all these things so that if they went through and looked at all those places, set up appointments and talked to all the different brokers, and they would be screwed. You have the education process and the time, you're literally reeling. It's New York, like it's high stakes, high speed. So what I do is I say, give it to me first so that I understand where their head's at, right? Because if they send it to me without me giving my input, I first learn about them. And then I know with my context and a knowledge of inventory, neighborhoods, buildings, price points, all of that, then I could redirect it back at them and have a conversation and then focus from 15 listings that they really like to like 6 that we have as a focus. And then that 6 in there is like 3 within the range. and then like one way above, one a little bit below, and then like one mid, right? So you're getting a range in order to educate within those 6, and then like a surprise at the end, right? Like something like
So
that.
important. That's such good advice. That's such good advice. So that's something. What you're ultimately saying is you need to know your shit and be very detail oriented. And this way, if you know your shit to that degree, you're not only saving yourself time, obviously, you're saving your client a tremendous amount of time. And you can also save them time down the road. For example, with serious repairs, say it's a $15 million property. If you made sure to educate them on who the architect is, who, what kind of a building materials are being used, you really helping them. You're really, really helping that client, and they're going to really appreciate you and send you a lot more business. This is very important. I know my brokers really know their shit. They really know their shit.
Yeah, and how long have they been doing it?
12, 13 years. They're in their early 30s.
You can't replace just experience, like in the business, because in New York, there's thousands and thousands of buildings, just you don't even know what you're looking at the beginning. But after 10 years, that, they've seen so many things now that they're like, all right, this, that, and they can see and anticipate. Like I know when deals are going south with my team and my agents, because I'm not even involved in Sarah Cotty's deal, but based on how she communicates with me, I'm like, hey, I'll call her and be like, what's going on with this deal? She's like, oh, I call you, figure it out, right? Because you have to have like a mental pocket presence. I have a very good pocket presence. Like, okay, step up in the pocket and then throw the ball. Don't just sit there and get sacked. So you have to have that like mental alert in your head too as you're going through the business. And I have a good way of doing that because I have so much experience that I know things as like a younger agent, like 3, 4, 5 years in the business, they're still trying to grasp all the other things, because it's a lot, man. To be a real estate agent, you have to be an expert, you have to be a psychologist, you have to know your
The
shit, you have to
psychologist
be
part.
good at
Oh my God.
marketing, you have to understand how to search, you have to know all the 55 databases, you have to save your passwords, you have to have an online presence, you have to be on X, Twitter, do podcasts. I mean, it's like, for a normal person, like, I want to be a real estate. It's like, do you? And you have, it's really hard. It's really
It's so
challenging.
cute. It's really so cute, though. How many people? Do you know how many new agents probably joined after owning Manhattan? Do you have? Yeah. Oh my God, thousands probably.
Oh, of course. Of course. I get, DMs every single moment of the day for people telling me that they just got their license. And that's great. Talk to me in 6 years.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm
Well,
not
they're
talking to you now.
highly unlikely they're going to last that long.
Well,
But
that's
because
the
they
point.
the
That's the
glam,
point.
people just want what it can get you. But when it comes to doing the boring, mundane work, sitting there, staring at a screen, talking to stranger after stranger after stranger after stranger after stranger for hours and days and months and years, just sitting there. No one wants to do that. Almost nobody wants to do that. But then there are those few people who do it.
Right.
I honestly, dude, I have some of the funniest discussions with people. I enjoy. Listen, man,
What was the funniest discussion you've ever had?
I'm trying to think of some funny shit. I'll just have some funny names. I had a guy, James Bond. So I'm like, Mr. 007. He starts cracking up, and I'm like, is it really you? Which one is it? Like, I'm like, are you Sean Connery? Were you resurrected?
Are you Pierce Brosnan? That's great. That's great.
And I go to his place, dude. Like, place is a mess. He's wearing like this Looney Tunes shirt. He's an old dude. It was nothing I expected. It was so funny, man. He already hired an agent. He already hired an agent, but I decided to go there because he had a short agreement. Speaking of which, I have to follow up with. I have to check in with him, see what's going on.
Well, I mean, look, if I'm you, I would show up to his front lawn with a tuxedo and a blonde chick and a sniper rifle, or just
Like a water
like a
gun, like a water
silencer and a
gunner.
pistol. But like, I'm here to sell your house. Obviously,
Great.
that was joking, and it's not a recommendation to show up in someone's lawn to do that. But I just got the visual of James Bond, and I'm like, maybe you should just act like him.
With
I'm
a
James
water
Bond.
gun? With
Maybe
a
drop
water
a
gun?
gun.
like a super soaker or a Nerf gun, it would be hilarious. I think,
Yeah, I did the super soaker gun thing, sprayed everybody after I went in the pool at the Jardine, it's definitely fun, a little sensitive, I think, with what's going on with all the things, but you know,
yeah.
maybe
But
just a
dude, it's
tuxedo would be great.
yeah, 100%. Dude, it's the creativity is so important, man. This is why I love what I'm doing, and the podcast and real estate, the way I can intertwine them, you know? Because you and I, if I didn't have a podcast, I would just, what would I do? I would DM you, hey, so could I get some thoughts on the podcast is such an amazing tool to be able to sit with you, have an hour of your time, which listen, man, it's valuable, you know? At the end of the day, you're giving me your time and I appreciate that. And now I get to not only pick your brain, learn from you, but we can develop a friendship, you know, and hopefully do business together at some point. And that's huge.
Absolutely. Hats off to you for doing it. It's not easy,
I
but it's
appreciate that.
very important.
I appreciate that. So Niall, I think we covered a hell of a lot of ground. If you do want to throw anything in, mention anything, any tips, or you want to just plug in any business, obviously the floor is yours. Have any finishing closing thoughts?
Yeah, well, Ralph, really appreciate you for having me on. That's the first thing. It looks like you're really being consistent and getting out there. I'd really love to see you once you do 500 episodes. So that's my challenge for you, and I think you'll do it. Overall, this is very unique time because the show came out, and I have a lot of new business coming down the pipe. So I have a lot of really exciting listings that I'm bringing on the market, and it's always good to watch how I, especially if you're in real estate, market my listings and get them out to a very wide range and wide audience. So there's going to be a lot. If you just observe my social media, I'm literally at Nile Lundgren on every channel. So at NILE LUNDGREN. I'm on X. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Twitter. Oh, sorry, that is X. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, and then I have another account, which is the Broker That Never Sleeps. So I have my own podcast as well. And that's on Spotify, YouTube, and it's the Broker That Never Sleeps podcast. I talk about my origin stories in the first season. It's just literally all of my tips and tricks and pieces of advice. Some of the things that I shared on this podcast are also in my podcast. And it's very exciting to do the podcast. I think you're doing a really great job because that's a really amazing way to get people, to join, for you to pick their brain, for you and them to share. And I think what we're all looking for is for people to share knowledge and information, because the more that we can do that, the more that hopefully we can help and inspire more people, which would be really cool. And I have so many really exciting things coming to the table, but I can't talk about them all right now. So maybe, we'll get back on maybe around episode 500, see how fast you can do that.
I would love to. For the five, we're getting to 500. There's no question.
I know you are. That's why I'm saying it.
I had a friend that's like, "Oh, I'll come on when you do." I think it was 20 episodes. He hasn't even come on yet. I think he kind of backtracked. He's the one who didn't want to join. But I looked at him and I'm like, now we're 160 episodes later. It's great. Yeah, man.
Blink of an eye. Good job. Proud of you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you very much. Ladies and gents, this has been another episode of Soothing Semantics. Again, I'm your host, Rafi Pinsky. Make sure to subscribe, smash the like button, leave your comments, follow the both of us on social media. The social media handles will be in the description. For your New York needs, make sure to go to Nile. For your Florida needs, I'm happy to help, and I'll see you next time. Let's see. Yeah.